and they chose to build upon a rock. And when the winds came and adversity came and trouble came, their house withstood those storms because their foundation was firm. While the foolish builders decided to build on sand. And when the winds came and the rains came and beat against the house, the structure looked similar, the structure looked great, the structure was wonderful, but what was underneath the structure was faulty. And as a result, it began to falter when pressure came. Now, we can curse the wind, and we can blast the storms, and we can holler at it and say it's terrible and it's awful and it's unjust. Or we can look at the foundation and say it's time to fix the foundation and make sure we're building on the right place.
Amen.
We got a choice to make, Mr. Speaker. We can continue to build on sand and grow government and the size of government and grow programs and spend more money, but at the end of the day, you can spend and spend and spend and never solve any problems if the foundation doesn't get fixed. Mr. Speaker, it's time we fix the foundation and address the real issues at the core of the challenges we're facing as it relates to affordability that Canadians are struggling with. Oh, I think
Amen.
Oh, boys, I'm starting to feel a bit comfortable, and I got to wind down because I'm going to get interrupted. I'll be getting you the high five and do all that good stuff here in just a second, but I'll tell you what, if we're going to address the faulty foundation, you got to deal with the 4 F's. Oh, I'll get into that in my second segment. I'm just warming up. Let's talk about food and the cost of food. Let's talk about farms and the input cost and the soaring input costs that they're facing. And oh yes, we must talk about fuel, because fuel is what drives and gets our food to market and on the grocery shelves. And when the price of fuel goes up, the price of food goes up. So you got to address fuel. And then once you get beyond fuel, you better check the foundation so that you can build a future of prosperity and affordability for every Canadian. Mr. Speaker, it's time to check the foundation and get this country back on the right foundation and stop building on sand and start building on a firm foundation.
Amen.
Do I take it that the member has a few seconds left, and then, of course, after question period, we'll have more time. Does he want to? I would say.
Do I have a little bit more
I would
time?
say. I guess we're close enough to 2 o'clock that we can start with statements, and the honourable member will have about 4 minutes and 53 seconds after question period. Pardon me? After the question period, yes. Part 2, yes. Statements by members, déclaration de député. The honourable member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, I ask all members to join me today in expressing solidarity with the Nuu-chah-nulth people of Sishat First Nation after 2 incidents of racist vandalism at the Every Child Matters Orange Bridge in Port Alberni in just 1 week. Swastikas and hateful slurs deface this important site of remembrance. This was not random vandalism. It was an attack on survivors, on Indigenous families, on Jewish communities, and on the truth of what happened at the Alberni Indian Residential School. For generations, Indigenous children were taken across this bridge from their families. Painting it orange was an act of remembrance, education, and reconciliation. Hate will not erase the truth. I thank the many volunteers who repainted the bridge and showed our communities resolve. We must condemn racism wherever it rears its ugly head in Canada, support education and the hard work of reconciliation, and stand with survivors today and always.
The honourable member for Sydney Glace Bay.
Mr. Speaker, last month, Cape Breton proudly hosted the Under-18 Women's World Hockey Championships, bringing the world to our rinks and showcasing the very best of women's hockey. The tournament coincided with the grand opening of the Keogh Forum at Cape Breton University. It's a new state-of-the-art facility and the first of its kind in Canada, Mr. Speaker, dedicated exclusively to women's hockey and serving as a lasting home for women's hockey in the region. Events like this, Mr. Speaker, do not happen by accident. They are built on years of grassroots leadership, including the work of the Cape Breton Blizzards, along with dedicated volunteers and coaches and families and community partners who continue to grow girls hockey and create opportunities for our young athletes. Through world-class competition and community pride, Cape Breton showed once again that when we invest in women's sport, we build stronger communities and a stronger future.
Here, here.
The honourable member for Nanaimo Ladysmith.
Today is February 3rd, the first day that 250 forestry workers at the Crofton Mill are out of work. Almost all of them are still without jobs, and another 125 workers will be following them to the unemployment line in the coming weeks. Since this Prime Minister took office, Vancouver Island has seen a steady drumbeat of mill curtailments and closures. Shifts are being cut, mills are being idled, and families are turning to food banks in record numbers. When a mill shuts down, the whole community pays the price. Crofton workers met with Liberal ministers in good faith and put forward practical, targeted proposals. They were promised employment insurance support and transition funding. Ministers looked my communities in the eye and made those commitments. While it's February 3rd, the Crofton workers and others on curtailment in my community are out in the cold and still waiting. I'm asking for an urgent meeting with the minister to discuss the reasonable requests Crofton workers have made. Our communities deserve more than words and someday promises. They deserve.
The honourable member for Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, families in Brampton work hard and they deserve support that work for them. That is why our government is increasing the GST credit by 25% for 5 years. That means a family of 4 in Brampton could receive up to $1,900. It will help more than 12 million Canadians across the country, Mr. Speaker. These measures are paired with $500 million to protect supply chains, support farmers, and help to keep prices down at the checkout. These builds on the progress already made, including a middle-class tax cut for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker, $10 day childcare, dental coverage for 6 million Canadians, expanded student loan forgiveness, and school meals for 400,000 children each year. These measures are about making everyday life more affordable and supporting families in Brampton and across Canada, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Ponoka Didsbury.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to rise today and recognize the Fur Institute's Day on the Hill. The Fur Institute was created in 1983 by Canada's wildlife ministers and serves as Canada's national voice for the fur trade. The Fur Institute is internationally renowned for their expertise in humane trapping and is home to the Seals and Sealing Network, which promotes Canadian seal products at home and abroad. Representing a broad cross-section of the fur trade, from trapping to runway, farm gates to showrooms, this organization represents the interests of over 35,000 Canadian trappers, fur farmers, seal harvesters, artisans, furriers, as well as governments and Indigenous nations, all involved in the fur trade. Mr. Speaker, trapping is an essential part of wildlife management, livestock protection, infrastructure maintenance, and species recovery. In short, trappers live in harmony with the land as opposed to living on it. Today there are over 20 delegates on Parliament Hill who are attending the Fur Institute's Hill Day. I'm excited to meet them, and I encourage all my colleagues to do the same.
L'honorable député de Beauport.
The honourable member for Beauport-Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, in a few days, the Salon Expo Habitat de Québec will hold its 40th edition at the Expo Cité Exhibition Centre in my riding of Beauport-Limoilou. For 40 years now, Expo Habitat has been an unmissable event for the construction and housing sector. Every year, it brings together contractors, experts, and professionals from all regions of Quebec. Given the housing challenges across Canada, events like Expo Habitat are more important than ever. Expo Habitat contributes directly to improving the situation by putting forward concrete solutions to build better and faster. This is an important forum for exchange where attendees share ideas, innovative practices, and sustainable solutions to address housing challenges. I would like to acknowledge the work of all organizers, exhibitors, and all partners who, year after year, ensure the success and relevance of this event. Thank you.
Calgary Midnapore.
20 years ago, the Right Honourable Stephen Harper was elected as Canada's 22nd Prime Minister. This week, as his official portrait is unveiled and as Conservatives gather to celebrate the many achievements of his government, I'm proud to rise and remember the legacy he left. One of fiscal know-how, strength, and unity. Prime Minister Harper successfully led our country through the 2008 economic crisis, resulting in the best recovery in the G7 while cutting taxes and saving real money for Canadians. On the global stage, he held firm to his principles, supporting our allies and having the courage to stand up to those who did not allow for freedom or democracy. It was his leadership that united our Conservative movement and opened the door to millions of Canadians supporting our party. The Right Honourable indeed. Thank you, Prime Minister, for your public service and your dedication to Canada.
L'honorable député d'Ottawa.
The Honourable Member for Ottawa Vanier Gloucester.
It's an honour to rise today to recognize the important work that Canadian civil society organizations are doing around the world in these difficult times.
Hear, hear.
During this International Development Week, I want to recognize the critical contributions of hundreds of workers from these organizations across Canada, and especially those from Ottawa Vanier Gloucester.
Hear, hear.
L'Inde internationale.
Canadian international assistance has long been a source of hope around the world. Our assistance builds clean water and sanitation facilities. Our assistance trains healthcare professionals to reduce infant mortality. Our assistance also guarantees that children, and especially girls, have universal access to basic education.
World more important than ever. Our government is committed to working with our civil society partners to build a strong and prosperous Canada. We know that when we work together, Canadians will deliver for the world.
Hear, hear.
By investing in overseas development assistance, our government is implementing a pragmatic approach.
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicolau.
Mr. Speaker, with profound sadness, I offer my sincere condolences on the passing of 3 junior hockey players from the Southern Alberta Mustangs. To the families, teammates, and coaches in Staveley, Alberta, who cared for Caden Fine of Alabama, and Kamloops' own J.J. Wright and Cameron Casorso, you are on our thoughts as you grieve this heartbreaking loss. Kamloops minor hockey had the honor of watching J.J. and Cameron grow up playing in the organization for 14 and 13 years, respectively. Many in the Kamloops community knew these players as teammates and friends. The pain of this tragedy will be felt for a long time, and the memory of these young lives will remain with us always. Gone from our sight, but never from our hearts. Thank you.
Honorable député de Repentigny.
The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, today I would like to highlight the phenomenal rise of a Repentigny resident who is redefining the limits of what we believe is possible, Thomas Fafard. Thomas has proven to us that even the most stubborn records are not barriers but invitations to excel and beat them. On January 14th, Mr. Speaker, during his very first marathon, he broke Alain Bordelot's 40-year-old record. He has set a Quebec record. He did more than just set a new time, though. He made history, too. But that's just one chapter in his epic journey, Mr. Speaker. He's already Quebec's record holder for the half marathon. He has shown us that his thirst for victory is insatiable. And he won't be stopping here. His goal is clear. He will run the Los Angeles Marathon in 2028 and then go to the Olympics. He has already beaten records. He is an excellent ambassador for our riding. We're very proud that he is from Repentigny, and all Quebec stands behind him.
Capilano.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in solidarity with my constituents of North Vancouver Capilano, home to a strong and vibrant Iranian-Canadian community, to unequivocally condemn the Iranian regime's unjustifiable killing of thousands of peaceful civilian protesters. The Iranian regime must halt its horrific repression and intimidation, and I call on the regime to respect the rights of its citizens. I want to recognize the extraordinary courage of Iranian people, both in Iran and here in Canada, who continue to stand up for the fundamental rights and freedoms despite the regime's ongoing brutality. Canada has been firm and steadfast in its support for the Iranian people and in its opposition to the actions being taken by the regime. To the people of Iran and to Iranian Canadians, thank you for your bravery. I am inspired by your strength and your fight to shape a peaceful and democratic future for Iran. Canadians stand with you at this enormously difficult time.
The honourable member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes.
3 years ago, the finance minister promised Canadians he would stabilize food prices. Since then, lettuce is up nearly 40%, coffee 33%, beef 27%, baby formula 13%, and canned vegetables are up almost 12%. Canada is leading the G7 in food inflation. It is now twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office and twice as high as it is in the United States. Canadians are making 2.2 million visits a month to food banks, which has doubled under this Liberal government. In my area, the local health unit has identified food insecurity as an urgent issue, as the typical family spends over $1,200 each month on healthy food alone, and many are forced to juggle between rent and buying groceries. Instead of working to reduce the cost of food, the minister is announcing yet another temporary rebate, giving some about $10 a week. The government needs to support a conservative affordability plan, one that eliminates taxes and encourages competition.
The honourable member for Vancouver Quadra.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today with a heavy heart, but in celebration of one of my matriarchs. Barbara Mary Charles passed away at the age of 96 last year, better known to thousands as Auntie Mary. She grew up as a Tsleil-Waututh member, went to Catholic day school for much of her youth, and at 17 she got married and married into Musqueam. Had 13 children and became the leader of her family, but also a leader in Musqueam as a councillor for over 40 years, engaged in the Sparrow case that proved our rights to fish for food, social, and ceremonial purposes. After her time as a councillor, she began as a cultural ambassador for Musqueam, welcoming dignitaries, royalty, celebrities, and even politicians. In fact, the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure once called her his rock. So as we move forward, I want to raise my hands to my aunt and end this speech with the way she would end it for everybody in this house by saying, may your days be filled with joy, may your successes be frequent, may you find peace and comfort, and may your hearts always know how special you all are. Haitzap Kasiyam Messiah.
The honourable member for Caribou Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives are united for hope. After 10 years of Liberal failure, Canadians are struggling just to get by. Groceries cost more, housing's out of reach, energy bills are up, and crime is out of control. The Canadian promise that if you work hard, play by the rules, you can get ahead has been broken. Conservatives are united to restore that promise. While the Liberals offer slogans and photo ops, Canadians are demanding real results. But the Prime Minister's rhetoric doesn't match reality. Food inflation is higher than ever. Housing is out of reach. Dozens of mills have closed across British Columbia, and no new resource projects have been approved or built. Conservatives are focused on delivering real solutions. We will lower taxes, fight inflation, cut red tape, build more homes, and produce more Canadian energy so we can stand on our own 2 feet. We are united for hope. We are focused on results, and we are ready to make life more affordable for the millions of Canadians who work hard and deserve better than this guy's promising.
It's not referring to this guy, I hope. Not referring to this guy. Oh, we should go through the chair. L'honorable député de Terrebonne.
The honourable member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, Black History Month is celebrating its 30th anniversary in Canada. 30 years to honour stories which, for too long, were ignored. Let's honour the excellence of Black people across generations, from the country's builders to its visionaries. We pay tribute to those who worked to build Canada, workers who built solid communities, those who fought for justice, artists, educators, innovators, and entrepreneurs who paved the way. I'd also like to pay tribute to the members of Nova Scotia's Black community whose courage paved the way for freedom, respect, and dignity in Canada. I pay tribute to those who left Haiti in the 70s, who left to care for, train, and teach generations of Quebecers and Canadians. They really paved the way, Mr. Speaker. This Black History Month, let's honor these builders and visionaries whose legacy I am proud to carry on today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Today we unveil the portrait of the great Right Honourable Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
Hey.
From the top, Mr. Speaker, he reminds us of better days. This Prime Minister led Canada's economy through the great global recession with the smallest deficit, the shortest recession, the fastest recovery, and the best balance sheet. He would then go on to successfully lead us through 2 wars, one in Afghanistan against the Taliban and then against ISIS. He also passed laws that kept our streets safe and expanded opportunity for Canadians. The cost of a home was an almost laughable $450,000 and rent was only $900. We look back on his many successes, not just in nostalgia, but with hope, because it's been done before, it can be done again.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Granville.
Mr. Speaker, on the 4th of February 2026, Ismaili Muslims across Canada and around the world will celebrate Imamate Day, marking 1 year since His Highness Prince Rahim Aga Khan became the 50th hereditary Imam of the Ismaili Muslims. In that time, Maulana Hazar Imam has worked tirelessly to build bridges between nations, to advance the fight against climate change, to support community resilience, and to improve the quality of life of those living in the most difficult of circumstances. For Ismailis, he has reminded us of the importance of being active, engaged, ethical citizens, and that living our values of kindness, compassion, and service to all is an act of faith. For us all, Hazar Imam has shown us the importance of faith, of maintaining balance in our lives, of taking the time to care for family and community, and above all, of living our physical lives with purpose and intention. These values reflect the best of what unites us as Canadians. I invite all members of this House to join me in wishing His Highness and Ismailis across Canada, Khushyali Mubarak.
Oral questions. Questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve hope. The hope of a full fridge as well as a full bank account. The Prime Minister told us that he would be judged on the basis of the cost of groceries. Since then, costs have increased higher here than in any other country of the G7. My theory is that the taxes on farm equipment, fertilizers, and the entire supply chain that are responsible for this. That's my theory. That's why we have the highest food inflation in the G7. What is his theory? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition's theory is false. It is false. The industrial carbon tax does not have an effect on groceries, according to the Canadian Climate Institute. Their assessment is that it stands at 0. There is no tax on packaging in there. It's the impact of the Canadian currency and American tariffs.
Opposition.
Ça marche pas.
That doesn't add up because all other countries in the G7 pay tariffs too. All the other G7 countries also face climate change effects, but they have less food inflation. Their consumers are not seeing these hikes that we are seeing here. We have the worst food inflation in the entire G7. The Prime Minister is not explaining the cause for this. I say it's the taxes, these inflationary deficits that he's imposing. Will he work with us to do away with these taxes and make groceries affordable? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, according to TD Bank, one of the major effects on the cost of groceries here is the lowering of the Canadian currency during a period of obstruction of the Conservative Party before the election of the current new Government of Canada. Now the Canadian currency, the dollar, is rising, and we will see the results of this for Canadians everywhere.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve to have a full stomach, a full fridge, and a full bank account all at once. But the Prime Minister has said that he could be judged by the price at the grocery store. Since that time, food inflation has doubled, and grocery prices are rising faster in Canada than any other country in the G7. My theory is that his taxes, his carbon taxes on farm equipment, fertilizer, food processors, his new tax on diesel and gas is the cause. That's my theory. What's his?
Hear, hear. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the impact of the industrial carbon tax on food prices is, as estimated by the Canadian Climate Institute, approximately zero. The impact of the fuel charge, which exempts diesel, which exempts gasoline, which exempts fertilizer, which exempts food processors, is de minimis. What it does do, the fuel charge, though, is support the people of the farmers of Battle River, Crowfoot, supports canola production, it supports biofuels, it supports our future.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, now we'll have to find out if the Prime Minister is telling the truth or whether his Environment Department is telling the truth. Their document shows that he says it doesn't apply to gasoline. According to his own Environment Department, it applies to both diesel and gasoline, 7 cents a litre this year, and yes, it does apply on farmers, fishers, and others. But regardless, we have the highest food inflation in the G7. I've given my theory on why, under his leadership, Canadians are paying more faster than anyone else. What is his theory for his terrible record on food inflation?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know the Leader of the Opposition is just visiting his riding, but he would spend more time
I think we'll have to start that from the top. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. 3 passports.
Mr. Speaker, I recognize that the Leader of the Opposition is just visiting his riding and will be running in another riding in the next election.
Who's riding next time?
He should spend some time, I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, with the farmers in his riding who benefit from our trade deal with China, $7 billion of new exports, who benefit from the biofuel charge that supports canola production, supports farm income, supports our future.
Hear, hear, hear. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I realize the Prime Minister is just visiting Canada. Let's go to Drumheller, let's go to Camrose, let's go to Consort, and let's ask them if they believe that when you charge a 7 cent a litre tax on diesel and on gasoline to grow and ship food, when you tax fertilizer and farm equipment, whether that gets passed on in the highest grocery prices in the G7. Is he ready to make that trip and talk about that tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I am always pleased to go back to my home province of Alberta. I am always pleased to go back to Drumheller, to Consort, home of the great Katie Lang, I might add, Mr. Speaker. I am always supporting Canadian farmers as this government does, with new markets, with support for biofuels, with exemptions from the federal fuel charge, with exemptions from the industrial carbon tax, because we believe in Canada.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the original question was what is his theory on why Canada, after a year of his leadership, has the highest food inflation in the G7? Why is it that single mom seniors and small businesses are seeing grocery prices rise faster here in Canada under his leadership after he promised to stabilize them than people in any other G7 country? I've offered my theory that it is his many taxes on farmers, fishers, food processing, and fertilizer. So once again, if it's not all of his taxes on food production that's giving us the worst record, then what is?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, one of the impacts, according to TD Bank, on food prices is the fall in the Canadian dollar caused by the obstructionism of the members opposite before this government came in place. What this government is giving Canadians is certainty with the groceries and essential benefit. $1,800 for a family of two, providing the support Canadians need, the boost now, the bridge to a brighter future with building Canada strong.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, allow me to start by expressing my respect to Prime Minister Harper, who is actually led the thought process for both the opposition leader and the leader of the government. I'd like to hear the Prime Minister's understanding, given his long notions of history, regarding what happened in Mirabel when the airport was built there and the expropriation of so many people. The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I wish to express my respect to the great Prime Minister that is in the gallery. It would be my honour to unveil his portrait in a few hours. Mr. Speaker, this high-speed rail line is a major national project. It will be a national project that will be established in close cooperation with the citizens in Quebec, in Ontario. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. I understand, Mr. Speaker, that that's the extent of what the Prime Minister knows about the trauma that was caused by the expropriation in Mirabel. And now he wants to do that all over again today. Does he believe that expropriating people without consent, by email, expropriation with no impact assessments, with no true consultation, are going to in some way reduce the trauma experienced by the people in Mirabel and the Laurentides region? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we are cooperating closely with the constituents in Mirabel, in Quebec, and in Ontario to have a small corridor, not a huge airport, for one project that will create over 50,000 jobs, good jobs, here in Canada.
Honourable député de Belleuil-Chambly.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. I don't know any agricultural producer who thinks that his or her business is too small to be worthy of respect. You can suspend rules, laws, parliamentary privileges, suspend environmental consultations, suspend rules relating to expropriation. Is that not all evidence that C5 and C15 are heartless bills? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the process will be respectful and transparent. It will be inclusive. But the question he is asking actually, is the member for Chambly in favor or against the high-speed rail? In favor of the future of Quebec, for or against the future of Canada?
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the food crisis is the worst problem in Canada for families. There are single mothers who are not even sure they'll be able to pay their bills. I asked the Prime Minister for his theory because if he's unable to diagnose the cause of inflation, of the soaring prices, he cannot find a solution. The Bank of Canada is saying that 2/3 of the increases are due to domestic issues. I'm going to give him another opportunity as a great economist to explain what is the cause for the worst food inflation in Canada. The Government House Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition knows full well that we have taken measures that will support families, and that is why he agreed with our request to expedite the process for the passage of Bill C-19, which will deliver, Mr. Speaker, no less than $1,800 to Canadians, to Canadian families, precisely to address issues with respect to affordability and groceries.
There's another illusion. It will be $10 a week at most for a family. Most Canadians will get nothing at all. $10 a week for $300 of grocery weekly for a family, Mr. Speaker. The question was, why is it that Canada has the worst inflation in food prices in the G7? The Prime Minister claimed it was our low dollar under his leadership. His leadership, he claimed that he was going to be so good with money and so good with protecting the loonie. Why is it that he has stood in the House of Commons and admitted that his leadership has tanked our dollar and raised the grocery prices?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know, but the math I have is 1,800 divided by 52 is a lot more than $10 a week, Mr. Speaker. But that's why the Leader of the Opposition knows very well that this is substantial assistance for Canadians who are experiencing affordability issues. That's why he bent over when we asked him to accelerate and pass C-19 and make sure that we can get that aid to Canadians right away.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, if the Prime Minister is going to dodge questions, you better find someone better than that. We've said that we would work with the government to save the people that the Prime Minister has priced out of groceries. And if that $10 a week might make the difference for a very small number of people, you can bet we'll work hard to do it. We're willing to put differences aside because Canadians are suffering the worst inflation in food prices in the G7. So will he put differences aside and agree to remove all the liberal taxes at the grocery store so Canadians can afford to eat comfortably again?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
All we hear from the opposition are imaginary taxes that they believe in some.
I can't hear anything, but I can't hear anything because there's too much noise. So, okay, that's better. The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. All we hear from the opposition is conversations about imaginary taxes that theoretically are impacting the price of food. They don't want to work with evidence, Mr. Speaker. They don't want to listen to experts who are telling us the very things we need to do is actually to increase the money in people's pocketbooks. And that's what we're doing, Mr. Speaker, whether it's cutting taxes for $22 million or ensuring that people have groceries and essentials benefits or making childcare affordable, Mr. Speaker. Families are saving $16,000 a year in affordable childcare.
The Honourable Member for Regina Louvain.
It took her a long time to get there, Mr. Speaker. The Finance Minister promised 3 years ago he'd stabilize grocery prices by Thanksgiving of 2023. Since then, coffee's up 33%, beef is up 27%, lettuce is up 40%, and Canada is leading the G7 in food inflation. Now he's announcing another temporary rebate which won't reduce the single cost of a food item. The last rebate is an admission. This rebate is an admission of their failure in a policy. So I want this finance minister keep his word and lower the price of groceries so Canadians can afford to put food on the table.
Great question. Great.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Look, never in his more than 20-year career has the new Member of Parliament for Battle River Crowfoot and temporary Member of Parliament for Battle River Crowfoot cared about people who are in financial need, Mr. Speaker. This new feigned approach to affordability isn't convincing any Canadians. The GST rebate makes a big difference for families who need it. They've committed to voting for the bill, but they still want to criticize it and say it's not going to work. It is going to work, Mr. Speaker. As somebody who benefited from that benefit in particular, my family needed that help, and families still need that help, and that's why we're delivering for families in need.
The Honourable Member for Regina Luban.
Mr. Speaker, these aren't my words. That's the Liberal Finance Minister said he'd have grocery prices under control by 2023. Thanksgiving, Mr. Speaker. So even my kids know that you should do what you say you're going to do. Why can't this finance minister figure it out? It's time for them to make sure that Canadians can afford to put food on the table. So when will he keep his word to Canadians so they can afford to feed their families?
Great question. Great.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Up until recently, Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have been frequently quoting Food Banks Canada. They've stopped, and I wonder why. I wonder if it's because the organization has suggested a recommendation, a key recommendation that this government is now fulfilling. That is the groceries and essentials benefit. Almost $1,900 for a family of four, Mr. Speaker. What about other supports that they're against? $10 a day child care, the permanency of the National School Food Program, Mr. Speaker, the Canada Child Benefit sustained for middle-income and low-income families. That's what this government is about. That's what we will fulfill for this country.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Since 2023, this very finance minister promised to stabilize food prices. Instead, Canadians continue to face out-of-control grocery costs, something anyone who shops in our communities sees every single day. A temporary rebate will not fix the root cause, poor economic policy. The last time rebates were used, Canada ended up with the highest food inflation in the G7. So why now should Canadians trust this finance minister to actually lower grocery prices?
Yeah. Way to go,
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
You know, it's funny, Mr. Speaker. On the one hand, they chide the groceries and essentials benefit. On the other hand, they're upset that it's not for everyone. I remember when I was Minister of Service Alberta and I had my new baby and I suddenly started getting these child care benefit checks that I didn't need. But families that did need the money weren't getting as much. We are ensuring that the families that need the money are getting the money they need. Families like the families in Esquimalt, Saanich, Sooke, single seniors who are going to get an extra $950 a year to help pay for toilet paper and lettuce and coffee. Those are the families that need this money. Those are the families that they're fighting against. Tell me why.
The Honourable Member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington, Tyendinaga.
Bill C-19 is not going to lower food prices, but we won't block a small rebate for those who actually qualify. Over the past 3 years, Mr. Speaker, the prices of beef and lettuce and baby formula, everything has surged. Even basic student staples like Kraft Dinner and canned beans are more expensive. Canadians need leadership that delivers. That means eliminating the industrial carbon tax, removing the fuel standards tax, and strengthening competition in the grocery store. So, Mr. Speaker, when will this government start governing responsibly and lift these burdens so Canadians can afford groceries on their paychecks? Yeah! Way to go!
The Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality.
Mr. Speaker, let's break down affordability for an average young family of four in a year. The Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit delivers nearly $1,900. That same family can receive the Canada Child Benefit, which provides $7,000. They're also saving $16,000 for affordable childcare, $730 for dental care, $800 through the National School Food Program, and they'll get $840 because we've cut taxes for Canadians. That's up to $50,000 of savings. And Mr. Speaker, none of these would even exist if this was a Conservative government.
The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, there are retirees who are being denied their old age security because of errors in the QRAM software. And the minister says, well, give us their names and we'll help them. Mr. Speaker, there are 500,000 new applicants every year. If we go by the minister's figures from yesterday, which in fact, incidentally, are constantly changing, and it's true that only 2% of cases are problematic, well, that still means 10,000 retirees could be affected. When is she going to help them instead of downplaying their problems? The Honourable Minister for Jobs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is not a simple project. The department is currently modernizing systems that are over 60 years old so they can better serve 7.5 million people a year. If the member across the way knows of cases where seniors are having a hard time accessing their benefits, please communicate with me or so that my department can solve the problem as soon as possible. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, well, at first, there were no problems with pensions at the start. They said that, it was a fear-mongering campaign. Well, the following week, they were talking about 30 or so cases, 0.2% of files. Now, yesterday, they were saying 2% of claimants. That would be 10,000 cases. And the Liberals are still saying, or giving the impression that it's not serious. This government is so used to providing poor service to people that 10,000 retirees with no pension check, it's just not that serious. Why is there nothing serious with this government?
Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
One senior not getting a check is already too many. More than 90% of claimants have received their benefits without delay. The department is working hard to deliver, and we are continuing to improve the process for the delivery of these benefits.
McMurray Cold Lake.
3 years ago, the finance minister promised Canadians he would stabilize food prices. Yet, Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. The price of lettuce is up nearly 40%, coffee up 33%, beef up 27%, and baby formula up 13%. Their solution, a temporary rebate, not addressing the root cause of why food inflation is so much higher here, and nor will it bring down the cost of any of the food. Why should Canadians trust that his new program will help them when the last led to the highest food inflation in the G7?
The Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality.
Mr. Speaker, speaking of affordability, I know how it feels to pay over $2,000 a month on childcare when I was raising my 2 young kids. Good news, Mr. Speaker, today families are saving over $16,000 per year thanks to our affordable childcare that our government put in place. Our national early learning and childcare is also about giving families more choice. Mr. Speaker, this is empowering parents, especially mothers, who can choose to go to work, who can choose to run their business. This is helping them contribute to our economy and building our Canada strong.
Honourable Member for Fort McMurray Cold Lake.
The problem is their solutions, their programs, they're just not working. They're making it so that 1 in 3 kids is in the line at the food bank. 700,000 children accessing a food bank every single month. Food inflation is twice as high since when the Prime Minister took office a year ago, and twice as high as what we see in the United States. The question is simple. Will they just listen to Conservatives, steal our idea, and support our motion to introduce a food affordability plan, eliminating the industrial carbon tax, eliminating the fuel standards tax, and increase competition amongst grocery stores?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, they'd have to have some good ideas for us to steal them. So we're always interested in good ideas on this side of the House. But, the member Fort McMurray Cold Lake just said that nothing's working in her province. Well, let me tell you that the National School Food Program is feeding 58,000 children in her province. In fact, parents in her province are saving up to $13,700 per child, Mr. Speaker, per year through early learning and childcare, and there's been 46,000 spaces created since 2021. So clearly, the member hasn't spoken to the families in her riding.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia, Lambton, Bikejwanong.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals promised stable food prices, but Canadians got the opposite. Lettuce is up 40%, coffee 33%, beef 27%, and Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation, which has doubled under this government and is twice the U.S. rate. The Liberal Grocery Summit didn't work. The rebates won't cut prices. Their taxes drive costs up, and 2.2 million Canadians are relying on food banks. So will they support our food affordability plan to scrap the industrial carbon tax, the fuel standards tax, and boost competition?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'm confused and concerned by the member's question. I'm confused why the question isn't about last week's important announcement.
Right.
I'm concerned that they're missing details of Canada's groceries and essentials benefit. It's a 25% increase to the GST tax credit for 5 years, a one-time payment equivalent to 50% this year, and it's $500 million to address supply chain disruptions and keep prices down. This is important news, and we need to focus on what we're doing for Canadians.
Hear, hear.
Member for Terra Nova, the Peninsulas.
Mr. Speaker, this finance minister promised to stabilize food prices 3 years ago. What they actually done was create the worst food inflation in the G7. Food inflation is now double what it was when this Prime Minister got in office. And this is not a global phenomenon. Canadian inflation is double the United States. Now, instead of fixing the actual problem, they added a temporary Band-Aid. And if a couple making minimum wage won't even be eligible for it, will this Liberal government please stand with our food affordability plan to make groceries affordable for all of us?
The Honourable Minister of Fisheries and Oceans.
Mr. Speaker, and I'm going to remind the opposition member from Newfoundland and Labrador that the people in his riding reach out to me on a regular basis. They reach out to say, enough of the fear, enough of the obstruction, let's work together. And let me remind this member that's $50,000 in savings or direct payments to family of 4 in affordability measures. This mattered. Please work with us to do what the people of this country and our province want done.
The Honourable Member for Vernon, Lake Country, Monashee.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are telling us that soaring grocery bills are caused by external factors, as if the cost of living is going up everywhere. But it's not, Mr. Speaker. We have higher food costs than almost anywhere else in the G7. Meanwhile, this government piles on carbon taxes and red tape that make it more expensive to grow, transport, and sell food. Let's be honest, these handouts are an admission of failure, a small Band-Aid for large self-inflicted wounds. When will the government stop blaming others and start scrapping the policies that are driving food inflation at the checkout?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration and Citizenship.
The colleague can look to Dalhousie University's Food Price Index of 2026. He can look to the recent TD report. We know that climate change is a key factor when it comes to the increase of the price of food. This is admittedly a challenge for this country. This is why the Canada Groceries and Essentials benefit is so important. But let's move beyond the script for a moment, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives have shown a spirit of collaboration to pass that benefit. Will they go one step further and support Budget 2025? We have an opportunity now to collaborate at this moment. This is what Canadians expect. That's what Canadians deserve.
L'honorable député d'Honoré Mercier.
Mr. Speaker, recent aggression by major powers towards the Arctic region have underlined the importance of Greenland and Denmark's sovereignty. This rhetoric isn't happening in a vacuum, and indeed, if left unchecked, threatens our NATO alliance and Canada's own Arctic sovereignty. Can the Minister of Foreign Affairs share with this House how our government is working with our allies to protect the territorial integrity of Greenland and defend Canada's sovereignty?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, this week I will be traveling to Nuuk, Greenland to formally open the Canadian consulate there. I will be meeting with my Danish and Greenlandic counterparts where I'll be reiterating the principles of state sovereignty, territorial integrity, and cooperation amongst Arctic states, including the Nordic Five. Here at home, we are investing more than $80 billion in Canada's defense and security, including Arctic security, and we will build Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Simcoe North.
2016, Canadians built 2.3 million vehicles. Just last year, that number dropped to 1.2 million cars. And last week, more devastating news for Canadian auto families as General Motors lays off 1,200 employees. So when will this government stop telling people that it's eventually going to be okay and start delivering results for Canadian auto workers?
L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
Speaker, of course, our hearts and minds are with the auto workers, and we're there for them. Again, this morning, I was on the phone with Premier Ford and with Vic Fideli, working on new opportunities to bring automaking even more to the country. That being said, what we never hear from the Conservatives is the fact that these auto workers are victims of the U.S. unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs. Why aren't they denouncing that? Why aren't we all working as one team Canada? That's what auto workers want. That's right.
The honourable member for Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, of course we denounce those tariffs, but with all due respect to the minister, she's had 10 years with her Liberal colleagues to protect the auto sector here in Canada. Now it's being reported that the government is going to reintroduce subsidies for Canadians to purchase electric vehicles. Really? Does the government really think that the way to save Canada's auto sector is to give taxpayers money to Canadians to buy Chinese electric vehicles?
L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, what is clear from this government is that notwithstanding the U.S. tariffs, we were able, after 10 years of creating 3,000 new jobs at the Windsor Nexstar plant, battery plant, which the Conservatives are against. Why being against 3,000 jobs in Windsor? We were able also to create 4,000 jobs in St. Thomas in a Conservative riding. Why are they against it? Yeah. Why aren't we all working together to make sure that we're attracting new investment in the auto sector? And meanwhile, we're working with the province of Ontario on a great auto strategy.
The honourable member for Oshawa.
Speaker, in 2016, Canada assembled 2.3 million cars. By 2025, that number has collapsed to 1.2 million. Under this Liberal government, Canada's auto industry has been cut in half, and on Friday, 1,200 more auto workers in Oshawa worked their last shift. This Prime Minister promised Canadians he was the one to be trusted to get us a deal. So instead of saying who cares, will the Prime Minister commit to protect Canada's auto industry and get Oshawa auto workers their jobs back?
L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
Mr. Speaker, we will get Oshawa's auto workers' job back. But you know what? My colleague is misleading this House because what she's missing in the Trillium report she's referring to is in 2016, Japanese automakers were responsible for 44% of automaking in Canada, auto production, and at this point, it's now 77%. And so we will invest in those who invest in us, and we will support those who are making sure that our auto workers are at work.
Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, this minister has sat at the cabinet table for more than 10 years, and under her watch, the Liberal government has deindustrialized Canada, leaving the auto industry to be sacrificed to the U.S. Her inconsistent answers from suing auto manufacturers to saying that the government is getting its money back and restricting access to Canadian market to GM only continues to fuel the uncertainty that auto workers across Canada are feeling. Will the Prime Minister act now and tell auto workers in Oshawa and across Canada how they're going to get their jobs back?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-US trade.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps you'll allow me to add my voice to other colleagues to say how happy I am to see former Prime Minister Harper in Ottawa today. I had the privilege, like you, Mr. Speaker, of serving in this House when Mr. Harper was Prime Minister of Canada for 9 years, and it's a privilege to see him in good health and smiling in Ottawa today. And with respect, Mr. Speaker, to supporting the auto industry, I also remember as an opposition MP, even in the far far corner over there in the third party, Mr. Harper and his ministers supporting the auto industry at an important moment in our history, and that's exactly what our government will continue to do, Mr. Speaker, as the former Prime Minister did in those years as well.
The honourable member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, Canada once built over 2 million vehicles in a single year. But under the Liberals, that is now down to 1.2 million. That's nearly half. And as production drops, 1,200 more auto workers in Oshawa just worked for the last shift just this last week. CAMI workers who lost their jobs are now getting heavily taxed payouts, and they're struggling to make ends meet while their plant sits idle. There is no production, there is no timeline, and there is no support. So after destroying Canada's auto industry, when will these Liberals finally stand up for auto workers?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, I met with Unifor in that member's riding, and I'll tell you something that the auto workers told me. They told me they want opportunities, Mr. Speaker. They want opportunities to grow the economy, Mr. Speaker, and that's what we're doing. Last year, since we've been elected, we created 180,000 jobs, Mr. Speaker. Wages are rising. Inflation is within Bank of Canada's target range. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is focused on building opportunity, building bold, building new opportunities with Canadian steel and Canadian lumber, working with unionized workers, Mr. Speaker. We're investing in infrastructure, growing key industries, investing in trade so Canadian businesses can create new opportunities, Mr. Speaker. Canada is one of the strongest economies in the G.
The honourable member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, auto workers in my riding, they want their jobs back. Auto workers have kept our country moving for generations. They're hardworking, they're tough, they're highly skilled, but this government keeps selling them out. We need Canadian cars made with Canadian steel, made by Canadian workers. The Liberals, they promised a deal. They promised they would defend Canadian jobs, but we're seeing job losses right across our country. So how many more auto workers have to lose their livelihoods before this government starts putting Canada's jobs first?
Yeah, way to go!
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, we are fighting for those auto workers every single day. Mr. Speaker, but you know what I want to tell you? That those workers want us to work together. And that is what exactly Prime Minister Carney's plan delivers. Time and time again.
I think the member knows, and he clearly didn't mean to do that, I hope.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are obstructing the Prime Minister's plan. Mr. Speaker, time and time again, the Conservatives vote no. Mr. Speaker, they block projects, delay progress, stand in the way of the very things that their constituents want, Mr. Speaker. We want to build this country, build big and build bold. The Conservatives are standing in the way. When will they get on side?
The honourable member for Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore.
Mr. Speaker, 1,200 more auto workers in Oshawa just lost their jobs. Brampton workers are still waiting on the Liberals to respond to their 3,000 jobs that were lost. Windsor thrives on auto manufacturing, and now we're left worried about our future. The Liberals promised a deal for Canadians. They promised to defend Canadian jobs, but every week the government fails on all accounts. When will the Liberals stop their pointless photo ops and get real results for the thousands of auto workers who have lost their jobs?
Minister for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Here's some breaking news for the opposition. We're in a trade war. Illegal and unjustified tariffs are taking those jobs, and this party is fighting for those jobs and investing in the auto sector. You know how to fight for Canadians, Mr. Speaker? You fight for auto jobs. You cut taxes for 22 million Canadians. You boost the GST rebate, helping to put food on the table. You build affordable homes. You invest in defense, childcare, pharmacare. That's how you fight for Canada. You believe in Canada, you build in Canada, you buy in Canada. They should try it.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Akawenrak. Mr. Speaker, the forestry sector is very important for all Quebecers. 57,000 people in Quebec work in forestry, but unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, news is dire. On the North Shore, the Dumtar Outarde sawmill is going to close. In Amos, 100 people are going to lose their jobs at the Arbeck factory. That is the reality in the field, Mr. Speaker.
We need positive measures, constructive measures with real results. Why is the government incapable of doing so for Canada's economy? The Honourable Minister for Industry. It is clear that those who work in forestry are being impacted by the tariff war, and that is a reason for which we've tabled a number of important measures, and the Minister for Natural Resources, my colleague, is working on a plan. For now, through BDC, through the Regional Development Economic Development Agency, we are doing work. And we will work with my friend across the way on particular cases because we have to defend our forestry workers in Quebec. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Akoinraka. I would also like to tell the Minister, yes, perhaps I could call her a friend as well, but unfortunately, their policies don't work. Quebecers want results, not just empty words. Her Prime Minister said that he was going to rectify tariffs on the 21st of July, 45% tariffs on lumber. Here's an idea. We could reduce bureaucracy. We could eliminate anti-development acts. We could reduce taxes. Are they going to do this to get actual results for once? Do not forget to ask questions through the Speaker. The Honourable Minister for Industry. Thank you. I'm listening to my colleague, and we're already doing a lot of what he's mentioning, including reducing red tape. But what is easy to do as a Conservative is to not denounce the rhetoric coming from the White House. They've never said that the tariffs are unjustified. They've never said that we're in a trade war. Never have they said that the victims of this trade war are those who are working in the lumber industry, in the aluminium industry, in the steel industry, and in the automotive industry. So the question is, why are they so silent on the question?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As members of Parliament, we have a responsibility to help build an economy where everyone has the opportunity to find success. While some Conservatives continue to dismiss diversity, equity, and inclusion, our government knows that empowering underrepresented entrepreneurs strengthens communities and helps build a stronger Canada. As we mark the beginning of Black History Month, can the minister responsible for small businesses speak to our government's programs to support Black entrepreneurs and help start and grow their businesses?
Well, good question. Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my honourable colleague for that question and his leadership. Canada's commitment to inclusion and equality is embedded in our charter, a commitment we reaffirm as we celebrate and mark Black History Month. Through the Black Entrepreneurship Program, our government is giving Black entrepreneurs the tools they need to scale and grow their businesses. To date, we have supported over 24,000 Black entrepreneurs across this country who are creating jobs and really building this country strong. And we're building on that success by extending the program by investing $189 million. So while the Conservatives question the value of inclusion, we will unite and empower all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals issued millions of temporary resident permits in the last 5 years. The result? Rents have skyrocketed, emergency rooms are overflowing, and Canada's youth jobs crisis is the worst that it's ever been. 1.5 million temporary residents had their permits expire last year, and that's more than the entire population of Calgary. So a simple question, can the Minister of Immigration tell the House how many of these folks have actually left the country as the law requires them to do?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Canadians gave this government a clear mandate to bring sustainability to our immigration system. That's right. We've been clear we are reducing the temporary resident population. Our student numbers are down, our worker number are down, the temporary resident population fell by 176,000, and our asylum numbers are down by a third. We will stick to our targets. We will enforce our rules so that immigration system works for Canadians, for newcomers, and for our businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
I had a sneaking suspicion she wouldn't answer that one because she actually boasted in the Canadian press that they brought in millions of temporary residents with no way to track if they would leave. Worse, the minister has signed off on bringing hundreds of thousands of more temporary residents this year without knowing if they will leave.
At the end of this year, 3 million temporary residents will have had their visas expire. That's roughly the population of Toronto. If the minister has no idea if millions of temporary residents have left, why is she still issuing new permits?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, again, for the members' benefit, Canadians gave this government a clear mandate to bring immigration to sustainable numbers. That is exactly what we're doing. In the Globe and Mail, January 15th, great article in their TD stats show as well that the rent is decreasing, housing starts are up. There's been economic recovery. We're bringing more population to our rural communities through our rural immigration pilot as well as the Francophone immigration. We are here to strengthen our communities, bring labour gaps and fill those when needed. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like you to kind of visualize the math lady gif for a moment, because last year the Liberals only removed 22,000 people who had no legal reason to be in Canada. So millions minus 22,000 is still what? Millions! I'll ask again. If the minister has no idea if millions of temporary residents have left and has no plan to remove them, why is she still issuing new permits?
I didn't know there was going to be a test today. The Honourable Minister.
Monsieur le Président, comme j'ai dit, notre mandat.
As I said, our mandate is clear. Canadians gave us a clear mandate. We are working to re-establish a firm immigration system. Recent data has shown that the population has gone down. Temporary numbers have gone down by 116,000 during the fall period. We're continuing to strengthen our economy to work for all Canadians and all businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wealth.
Mr. Speaker, every year, International Development Week is a time to recognize Canada's contribution to sustainable, inclusive development around the world. Tomorrow, the University of Guelph will welcome the International Fund for Agricultural Development and Farm Radio International to advance linkages between Canada's farm competitiveness and global rural transformation. As we mark this year's International Development Week, can the Secretary of State describe how Canada's efforts are delivering results for partner countries and why that matters to Canadians?
The Honourable Secretary of State for International Development.
This year's theme for International Development Week is prosperity through partnership. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are strong when we work together and work with others. And while our development efforts are grounded in fighting poverty and advancing inclusive growth, they can also lay the groundwork for long-term mutual prosperity. I saw this myself in Indonesia, where decades of development cooperation have helped cut poverty by half, while paving the path to a new trade agreement that will benefit Canadians and Indonesians alike. Mr. Speaker, this is how we create opportunity, by building prosperity through partnership.
Honourable Member for Selkirk Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, these Liberals are shamefully increasing the rent and other charges on our soldiers, sailors, and air crew. With one hand, they promised a pay raise, but with the other, they're clawing it back with rent hikes and a new post-living differential. Often our troops are ending with less take-home pay than they made before. The Defence Committee recommended the rent increase be reversed, but the Minister of National Defence said no. When will the Liberals start clawing back the hard-earned pay of our troops and reverse this unfair and unnecessary rent hike?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we are consumed with rebuilding, rearming, rebooting our Canadian Armed Forces. We're building thousands of new homes. We are retrofitting thousands of existing units. Everyone in this House knows it's time for us to invest properly in our Canadian Armed Forces members, which is exactly what we're doing. Just for example, recently, Mr. Speaker, we acquired a 37-unit apartment building in BC as a result of an acquisition. We're making others around the country. As we build that portfolio of housing, Mr. Speaker, we will be bringing the cost down. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. Mr. Speaker, the need for nutrition, education, healthcare and equal rights, especially for women, has never been so acute anywhere in the world. And Donald Trump has decided to abolish his international aid agency. This senseless decision will cause millions of people to suffer. And what are the Liberals doing? They're doing the same thing. They're cutting funding. This is a cruel decision that will have a real impact and will increase instability and insecurity. Will the Liberals reverse this decision and invest and be accountable?
Secretary of State for International Development.
Mr. Speaker, addressing the roots of conflict and instability abroad helps reduce the risks Canadians face here at home. Investing in development helps build stronger allies, new trading partners, and new markets for Canadian businesses. Our government is making generational investments to strengthen the Canadian economy, help Canadians get ahead, and build a more resilient future for our country. And our development efforts are a critical part of that effort by strengthening our international partnerships and supporting a more peaceful, stable, and prosperous world.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
Maintaining existing affordable and co-op housing stock is essential to address the housing crisis. China Creek Co-op in my riding were shocked to learn that there's no funding in the coming year in CMHC's budget to cover the housing charge subsidies. That means low-income families, seniors, single parents, and people trying to get by will be made homeless. They are not alone. Approximately 300,000 more homes across the country will be impacted. Will the Prime Minister tell these families they don't need to fear losing their home and confirm today that ongoing funding will be in place for their housing charge subsidy?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member for her question and her concern about the challenges for co-op housing. Co-op housing is really at the key priority within Build Canada Homes, and we will ensure that a significant portion of the Build Canada Homes funding will be targeted for stabilizing and investing in new co-op housing. As someone who has co-op housing in my riding, the most in BC, I obviously want to make sure my constituents and those in her constituency and co-ops across the country feel the strong support of this government. We're focused on delivering for co-ops.
Je voudrais signaler aux députés la présence.
In the galleries today, I would like to inform members that the Right Honourable Stephen Harper is here today.
Is here today on the occasion of the unveiling of his official portrait. Following discussions among representatives of all parties in the House, I understand that there is an agreement to observe a moment of silence for the victims of the tragic accident that occurred in Alberta. I now invite honourable members to rise. Merci, thank you. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's an honour to raise this point of order when the Right Honourable Stephen Harper is in this House. I remember the level of decorum we had in those days, and Mr. Speaker, I only rise because Standing Orders 14 to 16 were repeatedly violated on all sides of the House today. When Mr. Harper was Prime Minister, he was never once interrupted by heckling, as I recall. I hope we can go back to that, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Are there other points of order? No? Okay. Pardon, a point of order? Yes, the honourable member. The point of order? Sorry. Yes, the honourable member, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a point of order, the Secretary of State for Sport referenced the temporary member for Battle River Crowfoot. Mr. Speaker, it's in our standing orders that we are supposed to use either the title of the official leader of the opposition or the name of our riding. To add any adverbs or adjectives to it, Mr. Speaker, undermines the decorum in this place, and as someone who is part of the government should know better.
Yes, indeed, we have to be careful about using epithets because it does have the potential for creating disorder. So I think the member's point is well taken, and I hope that all observe that advice. The honourable Government House Leader.
A point of order, Mr. Speaker. In an earlier answer, I regret omitting the word backward, as in bent over backward, in an earlier answer.
Okay. Yes, the honourable member for Calgary Centre.
Mr. Speaker, during question period today, the Minister of State for Labour referenced Canada having the best economy in the G7, and every economic institute out there says exactly the opposite, including the Bank of Canada. So
No, that sounds like debate. That really sounds like debate. No other points of order? Okay, we'll take a little pause here.
Orders. Of the day, government orders, business of supply, resuming consideration of an opposition motion regarding food affordability, standing in the name of Mr. Berthoud.
I believe the member for Tobic-Mactaquac was interrupted by Standing Order 31 question period, so the member has just under 5 minutes left in his speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and as I was stating, it is so important at a time like this that we check the foundation. I think many times if we just continue to build and build and build without going back and making sure that the foundation is right and the thing upon which we're building is sure and sound and secure, we're going to have even more problems. And Canadians are demanding that we check the foundation and make sure we get it right. And what are those foundations I'm talking about? Mr. Speaker, it's the very sectors that helped build this country in the first place. The foundations of farming, forestry, fisheries, and the fuel sector and natural resource development. Those things help provide food security and economic security for our people. But what we've seen since that time is an ever-expanding growth in government and dependency upon government and growing the programs of government without growing and developing and ensuring that the economics upon which those are built and established are firm and secure. And that is those very sectors that provide the revenue and the strength to sustain those programs. Too many times, we're looking to another new and expansive government program that costs Canadian taxpayers more and more money.
It's nothing the member has done. There's a lot of noise in the chamber, and I believe it outside in the courtyard more so. So I would invite persons in the courtyard to leave expeditiously so that the chamber can continue its business. The member for Tobic-Mactaquac can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I want to draw our attention to go back to exactly one of the big challenges we're facing, because we've gotten away from our foundations. And what is that? That's the affordability of food. When you look at the cost of groceries that is affecting each and every Canadian right now in their households, when you look at the fact that Canada now has the highest food inflation in the G7, that's not bad luck. That's just plain bad policy. Food inflation is twice as high now as when the Prime Minister took office. After nearly a decade of Liberal rule, life costs more, not less. So food inflation is also is said to be now double that of the United States. And it's obviously more than all of our other G7 countries. Well, they face the same weather and climatic changes that we do. They face the same global supply chain challenges and shocks that we do. What's the difference? It's a difference in governments and the approach and fiscal policies that they undertake. When you consider the fact that our food banks are being overrun, we have a situation where it's no longer just an urban issue, it's also spread into our rural communities. And I've talked to the food bank workers in our areas. They're exhausted. They work harder and harder, put in more and more hours. They give out more food than ever before. And yet, with these growing challenges, we are finding that 2.2 million visitors go to food banks every month. These are historic numbers, and they are troubling numbers. And when you consider the fact that food processing and its costs have continued to soar, and that the input costs on our farmers have continued to soar, you realize we're expanding in all the wrong indicators at all the wrong times. It's time we check our foundation and get back to what works and get away from the things that are detrimental to the growth of the very sectors of our economy that built this nation into the greatest nation that there is. But this great nation that we live in is facing a great challenge, and it's because we've expanded in the areas we should be pulling back from. We've retreated in the areas where we should be growing in. And those areas are the areas of our future prosperity, which were the same as our past prosperity. It is the sectors of farming, natural resource development, the areas of growing in our fuel and gas and oil and gas sectors. The ones that help build this country are the ones that's going to help restore this country's prosperity. We must reverse course, stop putting the boot on our producers and on our farmers, and address the food inflationary challenges that every Canadian is facing right now by getting out of the way and removing some of the regulatory and tax burdens that are overwhelming our farmers, our producers, and our citizens. It's time to get back and fix the foundation. Thank you.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, it's interesting. Conservative after conservative is happy to jump up and say, well, this year we have the worst in food inflation in the G7. Yet, if you take a look at the last 5 years, Mr. Speaker, you will find that that is not the case, that Canada does do relatively well. And then when we did get a high year compared to other G7 countries, we are in the process of passing Bill C-18, the grocery rebate, or C-19, the grocery benefit, doing exactly what it is a caring government should do. My question to the member is, will he at least acknowledge that Canada is not broken, that we're doing relatively well on the inflation file?
Member for Tobic-Mactaquac.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I always thank my honourable colleague for his many hours here in this House. He works tirelessly, but I must say he is profoundly wrong in this regard. And that is the fact that Canadians aren't saying to me, at least in my constituency office, we've never had it so good. It's so wonderful how well we're doing. I've never had more money in my pocket. No, it's the exact opposite. They're frustrated because of the policies of this government. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, it's like saying to the arsonist, go put out the fire that you started. We're going to entrust you, because it was not this side of the House that said no to pipelines. It was not this side of the House that put carbon taxes on our farmers. It wasn't this side of the House that erected interprovincial trade barriers. It was that side of the House. It's time they get their side of the House in order.
I want to assure the member I have not started any fires. Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. L'honorable député de Jonquière.
Gentleman member for Jonquière. I'm always surprised, Mr. Speaker, by the cynicism that is hidden behind the Conservative Party motions to use something that is a real problem, like food inflation, But then to identify a cause for it that makes no sense. If there is food inflation today, it's because there's a carbon tax. Only the Conservative Party can, in a problem like this that affects everyone, try to back oil companies' agenda. What are the businesses that have made the most money since the end of COVID? The oil and gas sector that is racking in record profits year after year. That's not enough, say my Conservative colleagues. They need a bonus, an extra bonus of loosening standards, so that would apparently reduce the cost of food. That's just grotesque, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks to my honourable colleague from Quebec. I will say this, though. It's a bit beyond rich when recipients of transfer payments that come from the oil and gas sector to the tune of $13 to $14 billion a year, then turn around to that very sector and say they're the cause of food inflation? No. If you're so principled against those who produce our oil and gas, say no to the transfer payments and we'll redistribute it to the provinces that appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
This member has been such a passionate advocate for nation-building projects that would tie Alberta to New Brunswick and everybody in between economically, materially, and through national unity. I know he knows the inextricable links between food security, energy security, economic security, and therefore national security, which is imperative for Canada, and I wondered if you might want to make some comments about that.
Good question. Honourable Member for Tobique-Mactaquac.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks to my honourable colleague from Lakeland. I must say that, yes, we in New Brunswick, I can say, and in my part of the country that I represent, appreciate the hard work of our friends in Alberta and those in particular in the oil and gas sector that help produce the fuel, that fill up the trucks, fill up the ships, and fuel the trains that transport the food from that part of the country to our part of the country, and the energy from one part of the country to the others, and also produce the revenues through which our regions of the country that struggle sometimes fiscally have the means through which we can feed, work, build schools, build hospitals, maintain things. If we want to build a country that has food security, economic security, and energy security, we better work together and appreciate all regions of this country, and that includes our oil and gas producers.
Resuming debate, reprise de débat, the Chief Government Whip.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I rise today to speak to this opposition motion. And I can't help but think, as I've been listening to the debate, including the last speech, as well as those that I listened to earlier this morning and prior to question period, how maybe, just maybe, the Conservatives would have a leg to stand on with this argument had it not been for the fact that the last time they made this argument, it came to no fruition whatsoever. And, you know, I think back to question period when the Leader of the Opposition was telling a world-renowned economist, the Prime Minister, about his theory on why he believes we have high costs of food in Canada. And I listened to him and he said, this is my theory, this is my theory. And my theory is that it's this and that and all these reasons why. Well, I remember that Leader of the Opposition, and I remember his theory going on for years about the carbon tax and how he said, if you get rid of the carbon tax, food prices are going to come down instantly. They're going to drop. That'll be all of the world's problems, all of Canadians' problems will be cured if we just get rid of the carbon tax.
I remember that.
And so what ultimately ended up happening, I would argue that the Leader of the Opposition was to some degree successful in that. He always pictured that he would be the one
hear some people speaking.
We don't have an audio test yet, but
I feel like there's.
You see me right? You want to check if you see me?
The show's about to start, and now you want to do an audio test? What are you? All right, I'm going to go babysit Grandpa.
8 minutes. How's it going? Good.
Yeah, I see it.